So let me set the scene. You've started to plan your first film. You've gotten through the opening shots, the story, the dialogue, and now it's up for the final confrontation. The final fight scene of the film. Now you're a bit stuck. You've never done choreography before. How would you make it smooth? How do you avoid injury? Say your actors have never done anything like this before. How do you make it so they can be taught and they can understand it? How do you do basic staged combat? I'm going to teach you a few tips that you can keep in your mind and keep referring to when you're planning out staged combat. These are my beginner's tips for planning and rehearsing staged combat. Before rehearsing your combat, you need the combat. You've got, for the purpose of this video, 2 actors. Both of them would say stage steel longswords. Keep it even to basically make this very simple. Both of them, let's say, have no experience doing staged combat. They are just 2 guys. So let's say they're your friends and you've just said, hey, let's do a bit of combat. And they go, okay. So you've got your 2 actors there. They've built up the scene, and now it's time for the final payoff. How do you teach to them? Well, the first thing you need to think about is to make sure the fight is fluent and it flows well. An example for how I did this wrong. When I did my first film, The Kingslayer, I made a few mistakes. It was my very first proper film I'd put any thought into, and so I didn't have any experience in planning choreography. So this video is basically learning from my mistakes, plus a few tips I found on a very useful website that I will link in the description below. I'll talk more about them later. In this scene, I have planned out for Jake's character to go up against Ewan's character. Now what Jake's doing is retaliating against Ewan's attack against the Kingslayer, played by Owen. So what Jake's supposed to do is go down for a vertical strike, and Ewan is going to block this and counter by a horizontal slash to the stomach. Now, the problem with this scene is that Jake stuttered. Now, this is no fault on any of the actors if they're watching. This is none of your fault. This was our first short film, so hopefully we can all learn from these mistakes. The problem was that Jake stuttered. I believe this was due to a lack of confidence in himself and in his opponents. This flows on to another tip. Always have confidence. Now, if you are lacking confidence in the weapon you are holding, how can you act with it? If you are afraid to strike your opponent, how can you make it seem that you're still the character that desires to kill that character? You can't, can you? So what you need to think about, always have confidence in each other. Practice. Make sure that the first time you're going up against each other isn't the first time it's being shot. This will put a lot of pressure on both of you, as this will be the first time, and you'll both be too worried about making sure you don't mess up that you won't be thinking about your character or the way it looks on screen. Practice beforehand. Go through it a few times. Make sure these are serious run-throughs. Make sure that both of you trust each other. You gotta make sure that they feel comfortable with their weapons. So in this situation, Jake was attacking with a bamboo pole. This one, to be precise. He had to come in like this. Now the one problem is that he did like that. Now that is because I believe he didn't have enough confidence striking with the weapon. A bit too scared that he'd end up hurting someone, and a bit too scared that he'd end up making it look wrong. And because of that, it did end up going wrong. Now, this slowed down Ewan's attack because then he had to wait and then had to react. It looked choppy, looked amateur. Now, this could have been sorted if, in that location, they ran through it a few more times. Say, just simple, going very slow pace, vertical strike, vertical block, horizontal strike. Now this, just a few practices of that, gradually going up in speed, strike, block, and then strike. Practicing that a few times could have helped them have more confidence. So the scene looks like this. And could have played out a bit more smoothly, like this. Strike, block, strike. Now, that was only the first incident. Alongside with what I just said, you always got to make sure that your actors are comfortable and they're in a balanced stance. Make sure they're not standing upright. Stand with a comfortable position. Often look to martial arts for the footwork. You always got to make sure you're confident and you have good balance. Make sure that you're not looking wobbly or you're not looking crooked. Strong stance. With this strong stance, you'll feel even more confident with your strikes. That's just one of the basic things. As I said, your actors usually have to look confident with their weapons and actions, because it will come out of character if they are too worried about how they're going to perform. So that's just a recap. Always make sure your actors are confident with their weapons, actions, and the routine you've practiced. Now, what leads on to my second topic is you've got to make sure you're not fighting the air. Have proper distance. This can be seen in a few other instances in the Kingslayer. I'm always going to refer to this one since this is the first one I did. I messed up a bit. What you need to make sure, don't fight the air. Now what I mean about that is if you have two actors and when they're swinging each other, the weapons aren't making contact. It looks stupid. It looks like when children fight with plastic swords and they wave it in front of each other, but they won't actually hit each other with the weapons. It's just instead of proper clashing. This is alright if you're mucking about with weapons, but if you're doing it so it's in a scene, it has to look believable. It has to look like the weapons are clashing each other. So just fighting the air won't work. This can be worked out by having proper distance, judging the distance. Don't get as far away as possible and then try and reach out and attack with your weapon. It will make it look a bit foolish on screen. Make sure you're going to about near the edge of where the weapon meets. So have both blades staying about there. So that means when they stretched out, meet, they have enough distance and they can make the fight, they can make the clashes, and it will work out perfectly. Now another thing is make sure your actors still act during the combat. The worst thing is that they're just two people. Don't make it look like they're just two people fighting on the screen, fighting with weapons. Just make sure they act. Now the one thing you can do to make this feel like it's real is by planning it. Make sure they get the proper feel of their character. Now why is their character fighting? Let's say for this instance you've got two warriors. You say this warrior killed this warrior's family. Now he's getting revenge. Now make sure when he's in this fight, he's not just... How you doing, mate? You alright? Make sure he's got a look of anger. He's determined to take out this character. He's determined to kill that character. He wants revenge. Now make sure this is seen. So if I take example, don't just go... You gotta make it look believable. Go for power strikes. Make it look like, have the determination in the face. You've gotta want to make your character look like he wants this character dead. Now this is only for their basic motives. Now one's half in a strike, let's see, that made no sense in English. Let's say during the Kingslayer when the Kingslayer gets striked diagonally across his chest. Now he spins backwards, holds out his hand, he sees blood. How do he react to this? Straight into a powerful scene. I'm not sure which one it was, I can't remember off the top of my head, but straight into a strike. He didn't look like he was in pain. He has just had the equivalent of a bastard sword slash him diagonally across the chest. That would hurt a lot. If it broke through the armour, broke contact with the skin, that would hurt. So you gotta make it look like it's hurt. Obviously, you can't just make the actor feel pain, you can't just give him the pain, you can't just go up to him and stab him with a real sword and say, alright, you're in pain now, act. You've gotta teach him. Alright, I'm the Kingslayer, I've just been slashed up the chest. You pull back, you see your hand in blood, you're gripping your chest, you're in pain, struggling to get the strikes out, swinging with determination to keep yourself alive. Now, this can be shown in the facial expressions. There's a difference between getting slashed and going... and getting slashed and going... slashing for it, wanting to stay alive. Now, the main aspect is you have to stay in character. Always be in character. If you get slashed, stay in character. You're determined, stay in character. Stub your toe, stay in character. Now an important thing that this video may not be addressing is that have fun. It's fun to fight with swords. It's fun to fight with stage steel, hearing the clash, feeling it. You feel like you're in Game of Thrones, The Lord of the Rings. You always got to make sure you're having fun, because if your actors aren't having fun, and they feel like they're just there because they're being forced to, or they just feel like they're being forced through the combat, it's gonna affect its look on screen. They're gonna look like they're not having any fun. They're just gonna look like they're just... It's not going to work. It's going to affect their on-screen performance, and then it's going to break immersion. So always make sure your guys are having fun. Don't hassle them if they're not doing it right, because as in this scenario, they've never done it before. Always make sure they're having fun. If they're getting it wrong, don't say, "Oh my god, mate, I've told you this 1,000 times. Why are you still getting it wrong?" You go, "Nah, alright, that didn't look good. Or you did that a bit wrong. Let's go over that again." If you're friends, act like friends. Don't act like you're superior to them all because you're directing the film. Make sure you're having fun when doing this. That is crucial. So you've planned your combat. You've gone over it with the actors. Now it's time to rehearse this combat. How do you make sure this piece of combat you've got goes smoothly? The main one, which seems quite stupid, is rehearse. Go over it as many times as you need to get it drilled into the actors' heads. Make it seem like their body automatically, it's second nature to the body to go through this movement. Almost like their body's done it 1,000 times. You don't actually have to do it 1,000 times, but just plan it until they get it into their heads. You're just going to make sure that they understand it. Ask them to do it without your guidance. You stand aside and let them go through it. And if they make a mistake, just say, "Wait, no, it was this one. No, change it a bit. Here you go." Don't scold them too much for getting it wrong, because if it's a long piece of combat, that's a lot to remember. It's like practicing dance. You're gonna get it wrong. You're gonna get it wrong a few times. But as soon as you get it into your head, as soon as you learn the routine off by heart, it's very gratifying. You feel like you've really accomplished something. Now, when you're practicing, this relates back to the confidence issue. Practice at the speed your partner's confident with. Don't try and go faster than him. Don't try and go slower than him. Just, if you're ready to go and you're like, "Alright, mate, I'm ready to practice," and they say, "Can we go a bit slower this time?" You go a bit slower. And then if you're comfortable with going slow, you're medium, and then fast. And then actually, how it's going to be played on screen. So eventually, it will go from just doing, as I said, slow strike, block, slash. And then strike, block, slash, and then you start getting quicker until eventually they can do it at the speed they're confident with, which should be quite fast. Now this is for people who panic on screen. Do not deviate from the routine, as that will really stress out your partner. This happened during the later scenes of the Kingslayer, when he was going in to strike and he paused and he lifted up the sword and was kind of confused what to do. Once again, no criticism to any of the guys who are in the film. Obviously this was our first proper version of it. None of us had really done anything like this before, so you know, I'm not having a go at you guys, just trying to critique our own work. So he stuttered when it went up for the upwards kind of block, and he was a bit confused, and then there was like a really faint pushback because they kind of lost the routine and was trying to end the scene quickly. So one thing you have to realise is if this happens, ask to stop, ask if they can cut it into another bit, and then get back into the routine. Don't just think, oh crap, what was going on from here? Because then you're going to stress out your partner. How are they going to react? It's just like, crap, and then it's going to look terrible, because then it's just one partner trying to stay alive and one guy trying to make sure that the scene stays alive. Don't deviate. If you're running out of the routine, if you're a bit nervous, if you don't know how to continue, ask to stop, pause the scene, ask the director to go over it one more time, tell him to cut that bit and then lead into a follow-up scene, continue the routine. Done. If it's all done properly, it will look just as good as it would have if you did it in one go. Now this could be if you're going with someone who's never done it before and someone who's done it before. For the person who's done it before, don't get overexcited. Yes, it can be a very exciting thing to fight with a heavy stage steel weapon, to actually feel like you're slashing and clashing against these powerful weapons. Don't get overexcited, don't be like, yeah, this is so fun! Because then you're going to hurt someone. You're going to hurt your partner, especially if they haven't done it before. Because you'll be there slashing and trying to make it all stylish and stuff, and then they're going to freak out because they'll be like, I don't know how to do this. Oh god, I'm going to get hurt. And then as soon as they feel like they're going to get hurt, they're going to stop. They're going to stutter. They're going to panic. And then if they panic, it won't look good. They'll be like, oh jeez, panic attack, can't do anything. Oh god. And then it's just going to look bad. If this happens, if the director notices you're getting overconfident, or if you're getting a bit excited, if you're a director and you spot this, stop the scene. Ask them to calm down a bit, ask them to slow down. If they're going too fast because they're excited, if they're striking too hard, tell them to calm down and then slow themselves down. Maybe strike a bit easier. Because in the end, if someone gets injured because the other one was overexcited, it's a failure in helping them. It's a failure of keeping them safe during this. You're the one who practiced it with them. You're the one who's got to teach them to slow down. Now this is important, very important. Never try to hurt your opponent. Now this can happen if someone's too immersed in the scene where they forget that they're just another actor. If you say, alright, that's the person you want to kill, it means that in the story, not in real life. Now never feel like you're trying to crush through their attacks, you're trying to crush through their blocks. Never feel like you're trying to break their defense so you can finally kill them. Because that's going to really, really stress the other person out, because they're going to be like, crap, they actually want to kill me. God, just run. And then you're just going to have to try and get everything back together again. They're going to panic and it won't be good. Remember, don't try to hurt your opponent. If they accidentally hit you, say you're blocking and the blade slips and hits you in the shoulder and it hurts you, don't take it personally. It probably was just a mistake on their part. Don't try and get revenge. Don't try and get back at them by then when they have to block. Do that and then hit them, because then you're being a bad person. You're being a bad friend because you're just trying to hurt them all because of an accident. So if this happens on screen, just pretend it never happens. Or if you can't pretend it never happened, just really realize it was just an accident. Play on it. If that happens on screen, instead of just like breaking character, if that happens on screen, play it off in character. Slash you. Oh god. Keep going. Now this may struggle with a few people who haven't done acting before, or if they struggle with acting, as their instant reaction is to break character, check if they're okay. Now if you can learn to check if you're okay in character, you'll become a much better actor if you can do that. And that basically sums up tips for how to do it. Now this may have been a long video, but hopefully this covers everything you need to know. I will have shown clips from the Kingslayer to give you a visual representation of how to do this. I have shown you with the bamboo pole what some of the strikes may have looked like. And in another video I will cover from this website again some of their basic drills. They teach you a bunch of strikes and defences and then teach you how to put it into a drill. I will do that in another one of how to act out staged combat scene. Now hopefully by that time I will have a set of staged steel swords so I can practice and show you how it looks properly. So thank you for watching. Please tell me in the comments if this was helpful. If some of the tips were a bit hard to understand, tell me and I'll try and explain it in the comments for you. So thank you for watching. If you like this, leave a like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Farewell, my friends.